Hey, this is Keon Brown, the brand elevator. Excited to come before you one more time with another career conversation. Today we're talking about architecture. So a couple of my students have asked about architecture. So I don't know nothing about architecture except that I like looking at houses. I like, looking at renderings, and I love all of that. So that's the extent of architecture that I know. But fortunately for everybody, I've got a couple friends in the industry, and they'll be joining the call throughout the call. But right now, we've got Vanessa Sanchez. Vanessa Sanchez has worked in architecture and design for over a decade. She's a graduate of the University of California, Berkeley, and she's called New York City home for about 14 years. She's a believer of design, excellence, sustainability, and community research. I am so excited to have Vanessa. Vanessa, what's up?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right tonight. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm great, and I didn't say anything about all the great work that you're doing in revitalizations of spaces in New York and
Mhm.
volunteering in open architecture in New York. I haven't talked about any of that.
Mhm.
So introduce yourself and anything that's a fun fact for you.
Sure. Okay. Vanessa Sanchez. Originally from California. Been in New York for about 14 years. Definitely kind of a New Yorker now. Get a little impatient now and then, but here, cities are awesome for architecture, so definitely drew me here. That was one of the big reasons. Been in and out of architecture and design and volunteerism for the last, 14 years. Obviously, the recession hit. That was a little interesting. Um, but honestly, being out of it for the recession sort of reminded me how passionate I was about design. So definitely kept me coming back for more. And that's pretty much where I am now. I'm at a smaller firm in the financial district and just working hard.
Now, I'm so excited that you're on because I have no clue about what you do. Like, I know you, I know that you're in the industry, but so for the listeners and for everybody, for me, for everybody, what did you study in school? What were you good at in high school? What kind of clubs maybe you were in? What brought you
Mhm.
to this particular profession?
I've always been sort of drawn to anything creative. So I'm a visual. I love hearing things, seeing things, and that sort of. So I always knew that I wanted to do something non-routine-ish. So accounting was out of the question. Anything along those lines. Um, and to be honest, in high school, didn't even know what architecture was. Some of my family are in the trades, meaning they're in construction, they're in masonry, they're in, carpentry and so forth. So I have a general idea. I've been to model homes since I was a child. And it's always sort of really interested me. I didn't really know what sort of profession that could be. So once I got towards the end of my senior year in high school, or even my junior year, I think it was the career counselor who sort of put it in my mind, suggested it. I looked into it, and to be honest, at the time, not a lot of people like in my life were, hey, get a job, do this. They weren't really promoting college per se, so it was sort of on me to sort of seek all that out, and that's kind of where the UC Berkeley came in because they have a really stellar program, and I fell in love, took a tour, wanted to go, crossed my fingers, applied, send up some prayers, got accepted.
Yes.
Um, so
Your
that's
prayer
how
got through.
that's right. So I got accepted. It was a rigorous program. I will say, things I come up against are going to be I'm a female, I'm a minority, so it's in a different world for me. But I again really love it, really drawn to it, challenged by it. Um, so it's a very broad industry. So it's just a matter of sort of getting sort of the particular niche, or not even the scope of what you like to do. Um, so I mean, I obviously work in a more specific area than maybe some other people do, but again, just even over the years, different things have sort of pulled me back to it. So I gotta believe that this is where I'm meant to be. So just keep going.
Now, what area and what niche are you in inside of architecture?
Um, so I tried to. for whatever reason, I was never really drawn to residential. So I've always tried to put myself sort of in commercial and cultural spaces because I feel like that's where I'm drawn just in my daily life. I love museums. I love, everything from libraries. Yes, there are still libraries. Just anything
Wow.
along those lines. I know. So I mean, I enjoy those spaces. So in my mind, I felt like I possibly wanted to do hospitality or commercial, and so those are the sort of things you just sort of throw yourself into and try it, kind of trial and error. And some things didn't really love, some things really loved. It's just a matter of sort of trying to position myself in the firms that really draw in those projects. Um, One big thing I love to do and will continue to do till I'm old and gray is volunteer, and that sort of everything. I've done a spectrum of things, but it always sort of whittles down to something that has to do with design. So in an ideal world, someone would pay me for doing this. um, but I will take it on the side if that's what life has for me. So in particular, like open architecture, uh, collaborative New York. Um, we get people who ask us as design professional volunteers to sort of come at their issues or their opportunities with our expertise. Um, just as an example, we did a community garden, and they had all the spirit and all the people, but they didn't have the know-how, and so they sort of started this community garden and the master plan, and it was put together for a while, but it sort of all started to fall apart. And that's sort of where we came in, and we brought our design expertise, but in this case, it's not us coming in and letting them know this is what you need. It's us working together. What are your needs? How can we, you know, be an assistant to you? And so that's what I really love. It's just engagement of community, the end user. How can we make a space that's really useful and multi-purpose too? So as much as I would love to
Sounds like
design my own house one day.
yeah, I mean this sounds like Home Makeover or like one of these big reveal
Kind
shows.
of. Yeah, I mean, and part of, I mean, I used to watch those, and I would get all teary and weepy. And again, those are just little nuggets that I feel like have been implanted in my head and my heart over the years. It's like, look, this is what you're passionate about. These are the things that you can do. You're creative. You're this. You're that. Um, Dude, I used to cry like a baby on those shows. But yeah, I love. There's definitely like a like a reward, not obviously not financial, but there's a sense of fulfillment when you do things of that nature, and you feel like you're using your tools and your gifts to really promote other people's stuff.
Excellent. What is the like dopest architecture piece or place or thing that you've seen?
That I've seen or that I've worked on.
Either one, just something that we can after this is over, we can go look at and say how amazing it is. What's the
Dale.
dopest piece?
So it's interesting because a lot of people are, when they think architecture, they think like the skyline and I have to create a new building, but that's, being in it, it's not necessarily the case. It could be an existing building and you're just, you're giving it new life. So I'm going to put the Museo del Barrio as an example. So on the exterior, not a whole lot, nothing too fancy there, but on the inside, it's beautiful. It's this really old theater that was just covered in dust and grossness, and it just needed a makeover and a revitalization. So that's where our team came in, and there was something like, I don't know, 12 consultants, everything from structural to mechanical to architectural to you name it, we had it. um, and it's a big job, but at the end of the day, it's almost like it got life back into the building, and that's pretty fulfilling as well. um, I will say, as as just because it's current events, I'm pretty drawn to the Hudson Yards at the moment. Um,
Yes.
Visually,
You taking my
obviously, the
thunder. I was going to ask you about the vessel, but go ahead, please.
sure, the vessel looks amazing. I have yet to climb up it. I had an opportunity to do it this week, but didn't work out. I will get to there. It just how someone's mind works. It's like, wow, someone kind of sat and thought about this, and how can users interact, and how For better, for worse, it promotes fitness. A little bit here, a little bit things here and there. So all
Yeah.
tie together. It's not just a visual piece; it's an interactive piece. It's you know, in that sense. There's the shops. It's a little bit for everybody. I might not be able to shop in those shops.
Yeah, that is
but I can.
definitely a particular price point, V.
Right, but like if you can still walk in it, and it's quite lovely. The floor is this beautiful stone pattern. These are all the things that I see and I look at when I'm out, and it's sort of, you can eat at a really awesome, amazing restaurant. The food is like subpar, but you walk away thinking this is great. This is an amazing experience. You can also go to a different restaurant, eat really amazing food, but it was kind of, hole in the wall, nothing special, and you're like, yeah, it was okay. So I feel like your environment really elevates. If done well, or whatever to your liking, it can really elevate like a situation. So
V, I want
that
to
was
ask you, so in your life and in your career, what are some of like what I call ways of being or character pieces that you have used to be successful, to be consistent, be happy in this particular career? What do you activate on a regular basis to be in this industry?
so I fully believe in mentorship. I think it's super key. For me, again, just going back to my college story, I had to seek out a lot of help to get into the college in the beginning because it was like the blind leading the blind. So I sort of took that nugget into my next steps in my career, and I reached out to people above me, especially females in managerial roles, which were far few in between. um, just pick their brain, sort of give me advice, show me the ropes, kind of deal. And now that I'm more advanced in my own career, I feel sort of the need to pay it forward myself. So I'll do. So this is a good forum as an example. But I also have people I work with. I take the time out to answer questions. You sit with them, go over things that people did with me. I just feel like in my industry, it's sort of like how can we help each other, not who can I step on to get to the next rung. So I love the collaborative feel. I think that's always pretty much ingrained in me. I take that sort of everywhere I go, the mentorship aspect. But also I try to lay out, small goals along the way. How can I, what's one small step I can do to get to my next goal or my next dream. So if I want to, for instance, I'm really big on sustainability, but I would love to get LEED certified, which is a certification in the sustainable industry. What are the small steps I can take there? Reach out to people who have done it, take the test, prep exams, just little things along the way. How can I keep myself motivated? Sometimes it's hard, but
Well,
those are
cool.
some of the
Can we
things.
just talk about that though? I would love to kind of delve in because it's hard for me to stay focused and to be motivated too. What are some things that you do, and what as far as a mentee, if I were your mentee, what would you
Mhm.
say to me to stay focused and motivated?
I mean, everyone's different. Again, I'm more creative and visual, so for me, sometimes that means a list or creating like a visual, something I pass every day. If I can write that down, that would be great. If you can pick out friends or somebody that can keep you accountable. Hey, Keon, have you done this or that or X, Y, and Z? That's also helpful. Again, and that speaks to more like lighting a fire under your butt. Um, but obviously,
Sure.
self motivation has to be there. I mean, nobody's going to make your career for you. It has to be a give and take. There's going to be people in your lives that really spur you on and really edify you, and I think that's take advantage of that. That's amazing. Hey, can I, Keon, can you call me every Sunday and do this
Oh,
and
that's
that?
right.
So yeah,
I
so
do that. I do that.
so that's been helpful for me. Just getting
Good.
myself out there. If I mean, I believe in a good work-life balance, but if you have free time and you feel like you can pursue free workshops, free classes and such, that's jump on it. Why not?
Great. I want to know more about, like you were talking about sustainability. I've
Mhm.
heard a lot of a friend of mine actually does some type of construction, and his focus is at sustainability and green stuff. Uh, have you had any experience with green or sustainable design?
Yeah, I mean, being from California, I feel like it might be just you're at birth, you're a little bit of a hippie. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's just
Mm.
me. um, but I will say in college I took a lighting and energy class, and it just kind of flipped me on my side. I was like, what? Passive design, meaning you can take the natural resources, the sun, the wind, the water. How can we use that for renewable energies and et cetera? And I was just pretty much blown away. Um, and just ever since then, it's sort of the snowball effect in my own life. I've incorporated stuff, but just even in design, um, I will say I don't come across as many projects in New York. I think it's
Mm.
starting to take hold, but you will find it more in different areas. Um, I would say personally, the projects that I worked on that have sustainable aspects are going to be my volunteerism. So that's why I say in an ideal world, I can marry these two things in my life and just skip and hold hands and run and just off into the sunset. um,
For
so,
sure.
for instance, the community garden that was incredibly sustainable. I was part of. I call us Team Garbage because we designed and created a compost, which is a glorified trash can. Um, why does someone
Yeah.
need to design a compost? Because there's an element of research and stuff and actual sustainability that needs to happen for this to work. Again, that was the crew that came together, built their own, and it kind of fell apart because there was no know-how behind it. There was no like actual
Mm.
proper design behind it. Um, I mean, every day I continue to sort of pour into that because one day I would love to just hopefully work just on sustainable projects. But again, New York as of now is a little behind in the game of things.
So I want to say, or ask you, what is your day to day kind of look like when you go to the office, or just what's your day to day? What do so kids can know and people can know like what you actually like physically do? I'm thinking you around
Yeah.
sketching or rendering, and I don't know what do your clients
Yeah.
expect from you? What do you do? What's your day to day?
So at this point in my career, I am a project manager. So depending on the project that comes through, I am sort of responsible for the inception to anything from schematic, meaning sketches, just how you said, to construction, walking the job site, talking to the contractors, the consultants, etc. Uh, for now, my two projects that I'm working on are both in sort of the beginning phases. So when I go to the office, I do deal with the clients. We do have weekly or biweekly, whether it be conference calls or actual board meetings. Um, a lot of it is renderings, yes, and sort of creating like sketches and design, whether it be on paper, in AutoCAD on the computer, in SketchUp, which is a basic massing 3D program. Um, I will say I know it's technology now, it's all computer, but I have to say there's something about holding a pencil and a pen and just getting on a piece of paper um, that just sort of allows your mind to sort of go through the process of sort of what details might look like or what issues may come up. So my advice, I guess, and my side advice on that would be don't pass that over. If you have the opportunity to, do things by hand and sketch, like keep that as a tool because that's pretty useful. Um, Obviously 3Ds and computers and stuff are extremely useful as well. So if you can do a mix of both, that would be great. I think sometimes when people get to the project management stage, it's a little more hands off, meaning you just sort of coordinate with consultants. And for me, that sort of gets a little boring. I love the design
Mm.
aspect of everything. So I'm always drawn to medium to smaller firms because I get the opportunity to sort of have my hand in everything. And that's sort of where I found my sweet spot. Of course, there's pros and cons to working in a smaller firm, but that's got to be a choice for everybody individually.
Yeah, could you just elaborate on that? Because I think that people that are listening to this are going to be like, okay, cool. I
Mhm.
don't know too much about architecture. I've seen Architectural Digest magazine, and I think it's amazing. And I've seen Open House on NBC on Saturday morning with Sarah. and I've seen some amazing properties. And some people may have seen lots of construction or scaffolding in New York City, so
Yeah.
they understand that it's happening all around them. Um, what is the first step that one would take if they are thinking about going into the architecture industry? What's the first step?
Sure. So, I mean, first step is you have to get an accredited degree. So college, come on, college. One thing I didn't know actually, which I wish someone would have sort of informed me, was in the U.S. there are a handful of schools that offer a 5-year um, degree, so a bachelor's of architecture, so or BArch, and those Notre Dame, University of Miami, I think Syracuse, far and few between. But for the vast majority, like my school being one of them, we were offered a 4-year degree, and that is either a bachelor's of arts in architecture or a bachelor's of science in architecture, et cetera, et cetera. Um, both are very much accredited. Just the 5 year is much more rigorous in the design aspect, meaning at the end of the 5 years, let's hope you still love architecture. um,
That's right.
usually, usually there's either a semester or a year where you travel abroad. That's super appealing. Um, but for my experience, the 4-year program was excellent. It just was a little bit more, let's call it loose or well-rounded. So I had the freedom to sort of study other things that I was also interested in. So my base, my foundation is a design foundation. The 5-year degree would probably lean you to more an strictly architectural foundation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, having known that information, would I change it and pursue a 5-year degree? I actually would not.
Okay,
um,
got it.
I I think that I loved having the freedom of it. A lot of my former classmates have gone into similar but non-architectural fields, and that was because they had the skills and the tools of having this design base. Um,
Mm-hmm.
every state is a little bit different in as far as licensure,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I feel like it's a lot of steps, and I know it can be intimidating, but I think if you're consistent and you, after many I don't know, things have decided I would love to pursue this and I'm continually drawn towards this, then I mean I wouldn't get discouraged at the start if that there's many steps. Um, don't be afraid to try it and then in a year or so, you know what, I love this aspect, but I want to sort of, go here and there with this. Um, that's sort of a first step, obviously college. Now back when I had graduated from undergraduate, if I wanted to be licensed, I would have had to have gotten a master's degree. That's expensive. Um, so uh, I was like, what's my next option? Do I have to
More
do that?
degrees.
I know. I would have loved, to be honest, I would have loved the master's experience.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't financially feasible for me. Thankfully, the state of New York, in particular, and I know a lot of other states, um, will sort of trade off a number of years of experience, which in theory you will be working for a long time. So I was more than happy to do that. um, and
Sweet.
then, so either you get your master's or you get the years of experience. You also have an internship program, IDP, Internship Development Program is what it stands for. Um, sort of, I mean, you want your architect, person who's designing the building you're going to be living in and standing in, to know their stuff. So this is why there's so many steps. Just like a doctor, you want to have the proper education, the proper, you know, all the things that are current and stuff. I get it. It's just it can be daunting sometimes. Um, I think if you have the opportunity to visit a program at one of the schools, that's a great first step. Sort of pick someone's brain as well. Sort of each program is a little bit different, so that might be nice to sort of see if you can see yourself jiving with X amount of X program or Y program. Um, but I think it's sort of an exploratory thing as well. Like you have to kind of put your foot in it and test the waters a little bit. I will say, if you are a lover of straight up art and your parents are trying to force you to pick a air quote um, real career, don't do architecture. They're not the same. Um, it's not a fallback. It's you will probably be disappointed.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for being honest on that one.
Mhm. Thank you.
Did your parents encourage you to do a particular industry?
Um, no, well, I come to find out several years after I was already in college that my father wanted to pursue architecture, so maybe it was in my blood. I don't know. um, I mean, he was genuinely excited that I wanted to do it, but he never actually said the words, "Hey, that's what I wanted to do." So, he was totally supportive. My family's amazing. They're supportive of whatever I wanted to do. Um, they just didn't know how to help me. So I just, again, that's where I sort of self-motivation and helps and mentors came in. I had to jump in where I could.
That I did want to tell you, I found just a little bit of, and Koroma is on the line. Give me a second, Koroma. I wanted to tell you, I found the 5-year schools. I just want to make sure
Mhm.
that people know that since you brought it up. I do
Mhm.
see USC. You went to USC,
Mhm.
right?
I went to UC
Um,
Berkeley.
you went to UC Berkeley, so USC has a School of Architecture. Virginia Tech has a College of Architecture that offers a 5-year program. Auburn looks like, and then there's a Boston Architecture College that offers a 5-year program. Um, and a couple other ones like right here in New York. Pratt,
Mhm.
not a 5-year program, but Pratt
Yes,
has a
Pratt.
strong
Pratt is
architecture program.
supposed to be an amazing program.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. I just want to say that and close that out. I thought that was incredible that it was an option to do a 5-year program that has some more depth. But as you said, you were content with your 4-year program,
Mhm.
which is great too. So let's jump in. Let me see. We have another guest popping on, Vanessa. Let me unmute my boy Koroma. Hold on. All right, Hassan, you there?
Yes, I am.
And Hassan, are you there?
Yes, Ken, I'm
Hassan,
here.
uh, all right. Why don't you introduce yourself so we can get this name right?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Hassan Koroma. I'm also an architect. A recent graduate. I graduated last year from NYIT from the 5-year architecture program. Been here in New York for 5 years now. I'm from West Africa and Guinea. Yeah.
Excellent, man. Thank you so much for getting on. And on the call with you is Vanessa Sanchez. She's also in the industry, been
Oh,
in
nice.
the industry for over a decade. So that's our senior architect on the call.
Oh,
Hello.
nice. It's good to have
Nice
a
to meet
different
you.
perspective too.
What do you say?
I say it's definitely good to have a more experienced perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. She has a wealth of knowledge and was speaking quite a bit about her experience. Just as
Okay.
a high level overview for Vanessa, you're into commercial and cultural spaces. That's something that's kind of like your sweet spot that you like to
Yes,
work on, correct?
correct.
All right, excellent. What about you, Hassan? What is your background and what do you do every day? Like, what is your niche?
My background is West African. That's where my family's from. I personally grew up there too, so I spend a lot of time there. So, but right now my niche is in transportation. We do a lot of transportation related projects in our firm. Um, One of the big profile projects that we have right now is the maglev super train that's supposed to connect New York to Washington D.C. I think in an hour and a half. And
Wow.
then we are also working on other local train stations here in New York. We participated in the ESI project, which is an initiative to renew all of the stations. The goal is to bring the New York City station to the 21st century. So that's one of the other projects that we're working on. We're also redesigning the station so that all of them can be ADA compliant. Unfortunately, most of the uh,
Mhm.
stations here in New York City are not ADA compliant since the law passed a couple of years ago. So now there's an initiative for our firm has been contracted as one of the packages to take care of some of those stations in order for them to be ADA compliant now. Yeah, so that's
And
what I
just so
do
people
kind of day
know,
to day. Yeah.
Just so people know, ADA is Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
So basically, what that
cool.
is people who are. It's basically to be more mindful and legally also by law to design in a way that people who are who live with disabilities such as being blind or people in a wheelchair and stuff like that could be able to have facilitate their circulation like all the other people. So that's the main. That was the main idea about the law that was passed.
Excellent, excellent. We were going through Vanessa's like day to day, so people can the kids that may be listening can know kind of what
Okay.
you do specifically. Like, are
Right.
you at your computer doing rendering? Are you drawing? Are you sketching? Are you doing schematics? Like, what do you find yourself doing, kind of like on a daily basis?
On a day-to-day basis, that's a really good question. It varies a lot. Since I'm new, my main goal was to learn as much as I can. So it goes some days from schematic design all the way to construction, set construction, putting like construction set together. But right now, the main project that we are working on is that I am working on. I mean, on a daily basis, is the AD upgrade for the stations. So right now, my main task during the day is to um, design or reconfigure those stations in order for them to be ADA compliant. So that's the kind of the main. I guess that would fall in the line of schematic design, as for some of the category that you stated. But in the past, at the beginning, I was doing some construction administration, not construction, construction like a construction set for some of the stations that were like further advanced. So the thing is, when we do the schematic design, it would go for bid, and then some of these projects would come back to us in a more detailed form. So a project, for example, that I might have worked on like 5 months ago now come back, and now we have to actually design it like in full details, like where to put the elevators, the dimensions, and all of that. So when it comes to that, it comes to like more like plan sections, and sometimes we also do renderings, diagrams in order to show now how the circulation was before and now how it evolved to the current scheme that we have agreed on. So a lot of like back and forth basically between schematic design and CD sets.
What was your favorite subject in high school? We'll go with Hassan, then we'll go with Vanessa.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Um, my favorite subject in high school was geography and history, which is absolutely nothing related to architecture right now.
That's okay. Mine don't either.
Something happened along the line. I don't know exactly what it was, but those were the two subjects I was really interested in.
I would
What about you,
say
Vanessa?
for me it was math and science, which also don't necessarily have anything to do. I think because maybe that's just how my brain works. I was good at it, therefore I loved it.
Yes, I think that's the same kind of reasoning for me too.
Okay. I asked Hassan. I asked Vanessa, what is the dopest piece of architecture you've seen or worked on? The dopest architecture piece.
Ooh, that's a really you should have been a journalist or something, man. You got some really good questions. Uh, for me, that is a tough one. Huh.
You both are quite world travelers. I mean, I follow both of you guys. You guys are always out somewhere.
Yes. I will say this though, just while Hassan is thinking, when I
Yeah,
travel, I love to get into, and this is probably just because I love being in communities and stuff. I love to sort of immerse myself in the culture, and I feel like they sort of inform what I think is beautiful as far as
right.
architecture. Like maybe
Yeah,
it's historical. It's not necessarily like the Colosseum. It's not
right.
necessarily the Eiffel Tower, although those are iconic and beautiful. I feel like you can sort of see beauty in design and architecture depending on what your lens is on life.
That's
Yes.
a very, very, how you call this, interesting line of approach to first see what the locals think before you actually
Hmm.
appreciate the art, which is usually
Mm.
kind of the opposite of what we're being taught. Like you see it and abstract, you should interpret it. So I find
Hmm.
that to be a very interesting way for you to get a different perspective first before you make your judgment. Um, as for me right now, the one that I can really think of that are really impacted me because when it comes to like choosing architecture, I'm more like vague about like the brick style that I have. But it was the what is this called? The Getty Museum in Los Angeles. That was designed by I forgot what his name was, but it wasn't one of the famous architects, the white architects. So that was one of the from the outside it looks very mundane, but when you actually take the tour and listen to the tour guide and understand the decision making process of all of the little details I was paid attention to, I think it got me to appreciate the art more than if I had just seen it and don't admired it without understanding some of the components that he was thinking of when he was actually putting it together.
For sure. Thank you for that, Hassan. I want to put a
Yeah.
question out there for you to think about while I give a couple of facts that I found on Glassdoor. I want to know
Okay.
what kind of ways of being or character kind of traits that you have used um, in your life to bring you to this point and to gain what you've gained and achieve what you've achieved. Like I'm interested in you
Okay.
sharing to the people listening in a moment what kind of character, kind of assets you have that have you be
Mm.
where you are. So think about that for a moment. Glassdoor says the average base salary for an architect is $77,800, and I don't know if that is just nationally, but that is as of March 23rd. Yep, that is yesterday. As of yesterday, that is the average architect salary. What are your thoughts?
Is this to any of us?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go with Vanessa, then we'll go to Hassan.
um,
Okay.
I think as sort of as a junior, let's call it, that's probably not the number you're gonna hit. Um,
Okay.
but definitely like it really depends. I would say it depends on the firm. I started out working in a larger firm, therefore my salary looked pretty awesome. Um, but as I whittled it down to my own preference of working for medium to smaller, I realized that the profits they bring in maybe aren't as, profitable as the larger firms. So the jumps in salary can be a little small, let's call it. Um, Another obstacle for myself, being a female in a male-dominated industry, um, I don't know the statistics exactly, but let's call it females earn 80 cents to the dollar for what a male usually technically earns.
Wow.
So I'm having to advocate a little bit more for myself as I go. Obviously, I mean that I would say Glassdoor is pretty on point there as far as New York. Um, Eventually, like in your career, if you are the owner or the principal or a really highly experienced person, you can get way beyond that easily. Um, I don't think I don't know that we're like doctor status and we'll ever be making super big money. Um, but it is a very comfortable industry, and you can definitely make some good finances here if
I
you
will
sort of
say,
position yourself
I'm
well.
I'm looking
Mm.
on Glassdoor. I'm seeing a 102,000 at IBM.
Then that
I'm
might be the
seeing a
principal.
90,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All right.
definitely
I'm seeing
not
a
as
120
a
at.
junior.
I mean, oh,
Right.
well, okay, just to piggyback off of that, the term or the career title architect is sort of twofold. It's in the design industry, what traditionally it is, and it's also crept its way into the tech industry. So you
I
can be
see
an
that too.
architect,
Mhm.
like you were saying at IBM. You can be an architect of the network. I'm really not sure what that means, but
Mm. That means all the computers on them blinking lights gonna look real nice. It's gonna have some
I
type of
know.
schematic where it's this beautiful
For a couple
lay.
hundred
It's gonna be
K.
hung on right. Karam, what do you think about the financial piece, and then jump right into your character that you have established and what kind of traits that you have?
I mean, architecture is a very tricky field in a sense that, like Vanessa mentioned, the your income would vary greatly based on what kind of specialization you get into. Definitely, I think that sounds about right for an average salary if you take everything put together. But at the beginning, you would expect a little bit less, and obviously, maybe when you after a couple of years of experience, if you've mastered your skills, your craft, then I think easily you can go above that salary. But again, it's like if you work in a smaller firm, which is recommended, where you learn a lot, like you're more hands-on, you're learning a lot because you're doing different things. It's a different environment. I mean, financially, you would usually get less because it's a smaller firm and the commitment levels. I mean, financials are not as steady as like the bigger ones. But the value that you get from that is probably what's going to help you past that 70 or whatever number that is, the fastest, because then you'll have a more of a broad set of skills you can transfer anywhere. The large firms are usually like corporate right now. The one that's really paying the big bills are like in the medical industry. So a lot of people who like leave traditional architecture firms, they go work for corporations like Mount Sinai, for example. Those tend to be on the much higher end of that number you give. But again, that would have to come before with the sacrifice of the experience and all that. It's kind of I don't want to say this like that, but it's kind of a little bit of politics, how you understand it and how you manage yourself in order to rise. You got to be a little smarter. Sometimes you got to make some sacrifices in order to gain valuable set of skills that is going to help you on the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi. Yeah.
Oh, i- is Keon there?
I don't know.
I'm muted. Sorry.
I think we lost.
Thank you. I was having a good time talking about my own self. So Koroma, thank you for that. Now about
Sure.
the character, what are some character traits that you use on a regular basis, to really get yourself to where you are, that you can kind of share with our listeners?
For me, I would attribute it to three main things. One is knowledge. Um, Always get as much information as you possibly can, even whether it's about the industry in general, whether it's about a school you want to go to, whether it's about a firm, because that allows you to position yourself in a better way, right? If more you know about something, better your chances are succeeding at that. So definitely do a lot of research, immerse yourself in knowledge, whatever knowledge you can, get it, and everything can be a learning experience. Like when you go into school and how you look at things, all of that, like observing. I mean, in that sense, can become a very useful tool. The other thing I would attribute it to is a strong work ethic. Meaning you gotta like be at your craft. It is a field which really is, to be honest, very competitive, right? For me, that's one of the biggest things that you've taught me is how to, manage your skills and manage your ideas and defend your ideas. Because you're in a field where everybody, it's not like engineering where it's cut and dry. You do one plus one is that. It's like everybody has an opinion, right? So you have to be very thoughtful about your ideas and how you come to that. So that strong work ethic that you have to put behind your project to make sure that you get the best rationale, the best ideas from your research. Also, all of that will help you uh, um, get that. And at the end, the last thing I would say is perseverance. In everything else in life, more you persevere, more you go through it, more you'll be able to get the most out of it. So those would be the three. Get as much knowledge as you can, had developed a very strong work ethic, and make sure that whatever you do is like on the top of the quality list, and persevere, because sometimes even if you do those two, there might be times where things might become hard. So the idea that you can see beyond where you are right now would be able to, I think, carry you through in a lot of these hard situations.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Uh, as we're closing, I just want to, I'm gonna give you guys the last word as we close. I'll give my spiel and say thank you for being on this call and sharing your
Sure.
wisdom and your knowledge with whomever's listening. But this
Right.
came out of me really wanting to invest in a different way into the young men that I mentor through the Montclair Alumni Kappa League, and so the leaguers want to do all these things that I have no clue about.
Right. Right.
And so I thought that the best way to do that is to grab a couple of my friends who are in these industries, get on a
Mm.
conference call, ask questions, and then go from there. To
Yeah.
expose them to as many opportunities and experiences as possible. So
For
thank you
sure.
for being on here, being authentic, and being genuine. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
So I'll give the last word. We'll start with the Vanessa Sanchez, and then we'll round out with Hassan Koroma, and then I'll shut it down. Vanessa.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dion, for inviting me. This was great. I'm always down for paying it forward and sort of giving people my thoughts on the industry, just like people had done for me in the past. I think it's super helpful, and just even if people decide not to pursue architecture, I think it's nice, as Hassan said, to get knowledge and sort of hear everybody out. And I think this is a great forum for that to happen. I will say the industry of architecture is so vast. You can even see between the two of us. I'm sort of more happy in the design aspect, and Hassam is more in the technical sort of transportation world at the moment. It just there's so many things you can do, so don't feel like you're pigeonholed. If you're interested in architecture, don't feel like you're pigeonholed to one idea or another. It's really kind of what you can make of it, and sort of where you might see yourself if you're genuinely wanting to pursue this career. I think there's so many opportunities out there. Just to, again, get out there and start to learn about them. I think it's the most exciting part.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you. Hassan?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just say architecture honestly is one of the best fields in the sense that, like, by the time you've gone through the process, it would teach you so much, a palette of skills that you can apply to so many different areas, like critical thinking, graphic design, just organization skills, and how you even perceive things in the world. I think it has that potential to teach you just beyond the simple the crafts of like designing and sketching and all that. And it's a field where, like Vanessa said, you can apply yourself in many different areas, in many different ways. So if humans are always going to be here. Humans are always going to need places to live. After food and shelter. So it's definitely never going to be a field where it's not where it's going to be obsolete. So the population is growing. I feel like it's a field that's also going to keep growing in that sense. Especially, if you're here in New York or in the tribal area, you're blessed because this is honestly one of the best places you can either experience architecture or learn about architecture because it gives you so many different varieties with the people and the culture and all that. So that will be all. Thank you, Kian, for having me. I think in any way I can contribute to teaching or sharing whatever little knowledge because I'm in the beginning too. I have a lot of things to learn when it comes to the field and all that. But I think I'm in a really interesting point right now when it's like moving from student life to a professional career. So I'm right dead in the middle of that transition. So if there's anything I can do to help or facilitate, then I'll be more than happy to.
Thank you, brother. And these two, Vanessa and Hassan, they like to work out too. I know, Vanessa, you like yoga, and I know for a fact Hassan's in the gym almost every day. So I appreciate
Yes.
y'all for the health work balance and making sure that you're physically fit, not only physically
Oh
but
yeah,
in your mind and being sharp
in
for
your
work.
mind
So
too.
good
Exactly.
good luck on that. All right,
It's all
guys.
Thank you.
connected.
You guys can hear more about us at thebrandelevator.com and follow us on YouTube. All of that. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you. Hey, send me high quality images so I can post this. So send me like a really cool picture that you guys want to see next to architecture or whatever. Send that to me.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Take
Thank y'all.
care. Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.